Marci, Malzahn.
Thank you. Hello. Well, thank you. I am so excited. Thank you for the introduction, Stephanie. Thank you for being here. You are one of my favorite audiences. I love to see women, and just like Kathy said at the beginning, I love to see you chatting and smiling and all of that. I was sharing with my table that I've been doing webinars lately, and I'm like, I have no idea if they're smiling or sleeping. I'm like, no. So anyways, thank you so much for being here. I love this topic also, a passion for women in leadership. What I would like to do today is I want to share with you a little bit about my background and my career history, and we'll move on to talk a little bit about traits of successful leaders, and then keys to becoming a successful leader. And I want to spend a few minutes talking about traits of successful followers, because I think that in order to be a good leader, we need to be good followers as well. And then we'll wrap up with key takeaways. And if we have a little time at the end, I think we'll have a little bit of questions. Just in case you're wondering where my accent is from, okay, I've been here 31 years, no one has ever guessed, but I'm from Nicaragua originally. And when I was 11 years old, my parents sent me to San Francisco, California as an exchange student. Don't do that to your kids at 11. It was way too young, and I spent my 3 months of summer vacation, which happens to be Christmas in Nicaragua, so from November through February. And then years later, I heard that when you learn a foreign language, by the age of 10, you don't get an accent in that language. But I learned at 11, so I missed the deadline. So then, when I was 13 years old, the revolution happened in Nicaragua, so we had to flee the country, and we went to Dominican Republic. That was the only country we could flee to, because my dad's sister, my aunt, married a Dominican. So they took us in, and we were there almost 7 years until I came to the United States, and I came to Minnesota in January of 1986. Caribbean, Minnesota does not work, right? So you wonder, that's the other question I get asked, why Minnesota? Well, actually, the answer is pretty simple. My parents met people in the Dominican Republic that are from the Twin Cities, and they said, we'll help your family move to the United States. So my dad is an attorney and a composer. We're 6 kids. My mom first was a stay-at-home mom, then she became an entrepreneur when we left Nicaragua. And so it was through her business that we could come through immigration papers and all of that. Well, these people helped us by opening different homes, so every kid came at a different time. I'm the second of 6 kids, so my turn, I was the third one, and I came here in January. That's the only reason why we came here, and I'm still here. My husband is from Minnesota, my last name is German, so that's why you cannot figure out my accent. Nicaragua, Dominican, and Minnesotan, right? Okay, so when I came here in January, it took me a few months, to get a job and all of that. And in June of 1986, I started my career in banking with the Marquette banks, the Pollard-owned banks. They used to own the banks. So I started as a teller, and so here's my 31 years here. The first 13 years with Marquette Banks, I had 9 different jobs, from teller to branch manager. So cash management, private banking, and branch management, and all of that. Then, when we say I took a detour, it was really a complete turn. I left my banking career, and it was mostly because my kids were 10 and 8 at that time, and I was spending about 50 to 60 hours away from home, and I was missing my kids. So I went to work for a church, a nonprofit, $32 million budget, and I went as the Y2K project manager. That's another one. Y2K, we made it, we're here, right? So we made it to that, and then I was IT director, and then I became like the CFO of the church because of my banking background. So I was there 5 years, and then one of my bosses from the previous bank called me back, and he's like, Mars, he calls me Mars. Mars, I'm gonna start a bank, and I want you to come with me to start the bank. And I said, this is the summer of 2004, and I said, well, okay, well, let me think about it. I said, after a few weeks, we talked, and I said, okay, this is your dream, your vision, I'll help you. And I said, but this time, I want to be the CFO of the bank, and I want to learn to run the bank as a business. And he said, deal. How often do you get that, right? So that's how we started the bank. So in January of 2005, we starting the bank. It took us 6 months. And the bank opened in July of 2005. You fast forward 10 years, and I was the CFO and COO of that bank, and it grew to like 325 million. We had 44 employees, and I probably hired 41 of them. These were like my kids, you know, my employees. Some of them were from 23 all the way to 67 years old. I had them all. And because I oversaw so many areas, I got to learn a ton. And the experience that I got by opening a bank, it's not just starting a company. Starting a bank in the United States is a different story. So then 2.5 years ago, well, 3.5 years ago, because it took me a year to plan my exit, I decided, you know, if I can find a way to help other community banks do what I did for this bank. And when you have regulators telling you, you have a strong foundation and a great infrastructure, I slept well. I did that job and I loved it and I learned a ton. So then that led me to found the Malzahn Strategic. And this is what I do now. I picked the 3 things that I loved the most. I did the strategic planning, then I integrate the risk management, and then the talent piece, the people piece. And that's what I do on the consulting side. And then I was telling the ladies here, I speak mostly for fun. I've been speaking for like 17 years. And they're like, who does that for fun? And I'm like, I don't know, me, I guess. So I love speaking and I love being with you, with the people, and that's what's so exciting. Every time I get home after a speech, after I do a presentation, I am so energized you would think you're wiped out. And my husband's like, who put a quarter into you today? And I'm like, I was with people, yay. So I love sharing, and I have 3 audiences. I speak to banking conferences on the risk management and a little bit more technical topics, and then the women's events, and then faith-based events. And then I write for fun. These 3 books are all different. And the first one was, I published it in 2006. Because I have always been a full-time working mom, and I thought I wanted to inspire other women to be not only successful, but to also strive to have a balanced life. Sometimes we think that you can't have one without, you know, sacrificing the other. And I think there are ways that you can do it. It's not perfect every day, but we can at least strive for that. The second book, because I believe that we all have different gifts, I really want to encourage you to get those gifts out, polish them, and use them to help others. And once you do that, you really go through this journey of discovery where you find your mission, purpose, calling. You guys have way too many English words for that, but you know what I'm talking about, right? It's like, why are you here question. So that's why I wrote that book. And then the third one, because as I just shared, I left my friends when I was 13. Some of them I never saw again. You would go to school and 3 kids would not show up. They fled the country. That is the weirdest feeling you can think of. And then when I was 19, I left my friends from the Dominican Republic. Well, in 1986, we didn't have internet, there's no Facebook, so I lost touch with everyone. About 6 or 7 years ago, they started connecting me. They found me through Facebook, so now I have like 30 friends from high school and, you know, all of that. So that's coming back. I'll be selling the books out there at the end if you're interested. But right now, I was sharing with somebody, I'm writing 3 other books, and they're all different. And then, like, that was not enough. This last weekend, I came up with a brand new idea. So I started writing another one. I'm like, stop. But you got to do it when you're inspired, right? So let's talk a little bit about what is leadership. I love this topic because we all talk about it, but really, what is leadership? And I think from all those words, their ability to lead and guide and all of that, influencing others is what's the key here. That is what leadership is about. And I also believe that leadership is a gift, and not everyone is born a leader. However, you can learn to lead better. You can enhance your leadership skills. And sometimes people think that a manager is automatically a leader. Management is a skill. Leadership is a gift. And you all know people that are great leaders and terrible managers. And you may know managers that are great managers, but they're not the visionaries. They're not the ones leading, okay? It takes a lot to lead. So And I also want to talk to you a little bit about, as I said before, being a good follower first. I think that when we're good followers, that's a great foundation to be a great leader. So let's move on to traits of a successful leader. And I know there are many things, but these are some of my favorite things that I like to encourage you. Leaders have motivation. That's why I wrote that fire within. It's a fire that you have inside of you that no one else can put in there. So leaders have that self-motivation. You are self-propelled to do something, whatever it is you want to lead. Leaders take their responsibility seriously. Leading is a big responsibility. One of my bank clients, one of their employees told me once, she's like, I want to be a leader like you. And I'm like, well, thank you for the compliment, but I have 3 questions for you. Why? Why do you want to be a leader? Do you think you have the gift of leadership in you? And are you ready to take that responsibility seriously? And she's like, wow, I've never thought about that. And I'm like, so think about that. You know, it's not just, oh, I want to be a leader. Okay, let's go lead. And my pastor at the church said this once, which I thought was hilarious. He said, if you think you're a leader and there's no one following you behind you, you're just out for a walk. Isn't that great? I should put it in one of those quote things. I thought it was perfect. I'll never forget that. If you think you're a leader, look back. Okay, you're just out for a walk. So, the leaders take the initiative to lead, but you have to know yourself very well. Always have a good attitude. Leaders have a good attitude. And you find people that always either have a bad attitude, the ones that are always positive, and the ones that have always a negative attitude. You're like, oh no, there she is or he again. So I have 2 stories that I want to share with you about good attitude, because having a good attitude today, you have no idea the consequences of later, of the good things that can come out of that. The first one is my daughter. My daughter, by the way, is 28, and my son is, she just turned 28 last weekend, and my son's going to be 26 next month. During high school, she had a basketball career. She even got the 1,000 points basketball award and all of that. So she went to the University of St. Thomas, and of course, she enrolled in the basketball team. As you know, the tryouts are usually in October. So during this time, and they start before school, like in August, they start preparing and all of that. So the time came for the tryouts, and she was super nervous. She was super stressed out, and she's like, Mom, these girls run faster than me. She's like, I cannot do any better. And she was crying and all that, and I said, okay, Nicole, I said, I cannot promise you that you're gonna get in the team, but I can promise you you'll be okay. Everything will be okay. So the tryouts come, and she didn't make the team. Talk about 18-year-old devastated girl. You know that, right? How it feels. And she told me later, she's like, even in the midst of that devastation, she felt that she wanted to send a thank you email to her coach. How many kids do that, right? You're 18. And she's like, I don't know, I just did it. So she said, thank you, coach, so much for the opportunity to try out. I trust you that you chose the right players for your team. And I just wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart for the opportunity. The coach, of course, was so touched. She called her back and said, Nicole, I want to talk to you about managing the team, being the team manager for the school. And so she called me, and I said, yeah, just ask her about how many hours a week and all that, because your first focus is your classes, your school. She goes to the meeting. The coach at the end of the conversation says, Nicole, I want you to do this. I think you'll be the perfect person to be the basketball team's manager. And she's like, all you have to do now is go to the payroll department and get you signed up. And she's like, I get paid? She had no idea. I didn't either. So I'm telling her, go for it, whatever. You don't even know. You're going to help him. I get paid. So this became her job for the next 4 years. And she never knew, of course, her basketball career was over. But this was the beginning of her real career. She graduated with an operations management business degree from St. Thomas. She applied to one job online, and she got it. All big at Anderson Windows. Then she got married, moved to Iowa. One job, she got it, a Whirlpool. Now came back to the Twin Cities. Mom is so happy. Thank you. In September, and she got a job at Medtronic in supply chain. They need women in those areas. So all because of the good attitude up here, look at what that did. The other example is with my son. As you can remember, I just shared that as the CFO and CEO of the bank, all these areas reported to me except lending. So I had IT, finance, HR, compliance, internal audit, all of that. So I told my son, I cannot hire you. I wrote the HR policy at the bank. I can't violate my own policy. And because this was not a family bank, we needed to honor that. So I said, we'll hire you as an intern. And he also went to St. Thomas, finance degree, and he wanted to be in banking, which I was so excited. Okay, so we hired him as an intern for the summer, and then he got the time to hire a finance assistant in the bank. He had to train this guy. And the job that he wanted, he got to train this guy, who also graduated from St. Thomas with a finance degree. This was the job he really wanted. But he did it in such a good way, with such a good attitude, that they became friends. So you fast forward 2 years later, he graduates from college, goes to work for a mortgage company. My ex-employee, he leaves the bank. He's now in finance career. He hired my son. And I said, Patrick, you did this all by yourself. I said, you could have had a totally different attitude, like, are you kidding me? I'm not going to train you. That's the job I want, right? And he did it with such a good attitude. They became friends. So when he was asking me, should I take it or not? And I said, you both graduated from St. Thomas. You both have a finance degree. He knows you're smart. He knows you're a good employee. And you both like Chipotle. You can't go wrong. Take the job. So he took the job. So again, and I'm so proud to tell you that these good stories are from my own kids, because they taught me a lot about having a good attitude. You just never know the positive consequences because they chose to. I didn't tell them to change their attitude. So I love those stories and how they turned out, and now they have great jobs and they're happy. So the other thing is, another trait, lifelong learning attitude. Never stop learning. One of my top 5 strengths from the Strengths Finder is learner. So that to me comes naturally. For some people, it might not. But if you never stop learning, you're never going to get bored. I get bored. I don't know. That's one of the reasons I left, because I stopped learning. And in fact, when I was in Dominican Republic from 13 to 19 years old, so I started my college there for like 3 semesters. And when I came here at 19, I couldn't go to school, I had to go to work. And then I met my husband, we got married, had the kids. We decided one of us should finish, so he finished his, and I did have my kids very young, by the way. This is not anyways. So he graduated in 1991. Our kids were like 2.5 and like 9 months. And I told him, okay, I want to go back to school to at least finish my 2-year degree. That took me 4 more years. Finally, in 1996, then I said, okay, I tried 5 times. And in 2005, when I was starting the bank, I was actually enrolled in college again, and I thought I was going to die. So I'm like, you don't start bank and go to school and work full time and have kids. I'm like, okay, stop. So I dropped the class, and I told my husband, okay, in 2009, when both of our kids are in college, I'm going back. And unless God himself shows up to tell me no, we are all going to college. So 2009 comes. My daughter goes 3rd year, my son goes 1st year, and I started at Bethel in a 21-month deal, for people like me that had like a 2-year equivalent. So you fast forward 2 years, and graduation ceremony date comes, and it's the same day as my daughter's. And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. I have waited my whole life. I'm a learner. This has been a sacrifice. So I'm like, Nicole, what do you think? If there are different times, do you think we could graduate the same day? And she's like, oh, Mama, that would be great. That would be awesome. Let's celebrate together. Okay. So then it ended up that she graduated from St. Thomas at 2 p.m. and I graduated at Bethel at 7:30 p.m. So my parents got to see their daughter and granddaughter graduate from college the same day. Isn't that amazing? So again, I continue to learn. I love to learn, and I love that story too. I think I got the storytelling gift from my dad. I don't know, I got so many, but I promise you we'll be on time. So the next thing is, the leaders are hardworking people, but I also believe in being efficient and effective. I don't work long hours. I did at the bank for many, many, many days, just because I had no help at the beginning. But when we started the bank, by the way, I went 18 months with no vacation. When after 6 months, when you start the bank, you're like, okay, we just started. I'm like, okay, are you serious? But I'll share a little bit more about that. So learn to work effectively and efficiently, not long hours. In fact, there are studies right now that they say after so many hours a day, your body just simply cannot produce anymore. I think it's like 6 hours of full-time work. And also, I just read in another article, after 50 or 55 hours in a week, the rest of the week is ineffective. So I'm not making this up. That's the point. So leaders strive to be balanced. And notice that I say, I'm not saying leaders are balanced. Leaders strive to be balanced, because sometimes we are, and sometimes today we could be like, oh, I can do this. Next day you're like, chaotic day, oh my gosh, everything's burning down. So I also want you to think of your being as a whole being, the physical aspect, the mental aspect, your spiritual aspect, okay? If this was a workshop, I would have you work right now at your tables and ask yourself the questions, what is balance to you? And what is success to you? Every person's definition of success and balance is different, and we cannot compare ourselves to other people as far as that goes. And I also believe, just living life, that your life can be balanced, but you go kind of in cycles, I think, depending on where you are in your life. When you're single, young, at college, you can be completely out of balance. You've seen the students now, how overwhelmed they are. Then you get married, have little kids, forget balance and everything else when you have little kids. No money, no time, no nothing, no energy. But that's for a season. And then you go fast forward in your life, and then if you're taking care of parents, you can also get completely out of balance. So it really depends on your life and where you are. But I believe that we can have both, even if it's not at the same time every day and not balanced every day. So what I want to do now is I want to share with you 10 tips that have helped me as a full-time working mother all these years to help me balance my life. The first thing that I say is make a decision that you want to be a balanced person. So this is a lifelong decision. I want to be a balanced person. Once you start there, you can start funneling questions like, do I do that? Do I get involved in that or not? Based on, no, that's gonna get me off balance. When I was with my kids younger, when they have all these activities, basketball games and all of that, I would say 1 night a week is all I get for extra events, work-related, customer event, whatever it is. 2 was my maximum. After that, I would say, no, I'm booked. Well, the other nights were for my family. So it helps you to say no. Then, okay, so lifelong, I'm going to be a balanced person. Then you bring it to today. Today, I choose to be balanced. And sometimes you have no choice, things happen, but let those things that happen just happen because that's life. But then where you can make the choice, then choose to be balanced that day. And always make sure you choose what's important, what's the most important in our lives, people-related things, family, our customers, our employees. Family or people-related events is what I would choose first. And then think one day at a time. Be willing to make sacrifices like what I shared over the week. I would say no to certain events, no to other things, no to other commitments. And sometimes you can feel there a sacrifice if it's an event that you really wanted to go, but you can't go because, or you choose not to go. And then my school, that was a big sacrifice for me. I could have said, forget it, I'm going and I'm going to finish it because this is my time. No, I chose to put that aside because the little time I had with my kids and my husband at night, I really wanted that to be quality time. And you all know people that you can be there, but you're not present. And I really wanted to be present with them, and it paid off. Communication is key to being successful and balanced, both at work and at home. I was sharing before when we started the bank that I went so long, and we opened the bank with 6 people, and then we started hiring, one at a time or whatever. But I came to my boss's office one day and I said, I need help. I said, you know how they say you're burning the candle at both ends? And I went like this, I am just the string. I have no wax left. So, and I said, I need help. And then, furthermore, when the regulators came, the FDIC regulators came in December to do our 6-month safety and soundness exam, I told the regulators, I said, please tell my board members, Marci needs help. I said, they have way too many eggs in this basket, and this basket is going to die. And when you can make it a little funny, fun, whatever, but they got the message. My directors heard that the regulators said, as a concern, every time they ask, who's the compliance officer? Who's the CFO? Who's the CEO? And I'm like, this has to stop. I can't do this physically. So my point here is to ask for help. It is okay. That actually shows a sign that you know yourself, you know your limits, you're strong, and you do need help. My personal trainer says I'm Wonder Woman. I tried already, but it doesn't work. I'm just a woman. I'm a human being. We have limits, and you have to know those limits. And then at home, I don't know why we have a hard time asking for help. And also, if you're a single parent, that's even harder. One of my sisters is divorced, and my other 2 sisters, we've been helping her a lot. It is okay to ask for help. It's not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of knowing what your limits are. Also, surrounding yourself with people that love you and care for you. I have people in my life, like my husband and one of my sisters too, that I'm accountable to them as far as my time and my commitments, so they can sound the alarm when I'm overcommitting, okay? But you have to give them permission to say, no, you told me to remind you, okay? So that is really important as well. Who are those people in your life? Again, knowing your limits. You all have times where you feel, I'm done for the day. Mentally, you cannot think anymore. Physically, you can't do it anymore. It's just knowing yourself and accepting that it is okay to be a human being, and avoid comparing yourself to others. When I used to, years ago, go to some of these events, and the women speakers would say, oh yeah, I got up at 4 in the morning, I go work out, I make bread, I make breakfast for my kids. And I'm like, they bake, they work out at 5 in the morning, they go get the kids, and they're super moms. I'm like, I can never do that. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't bake, I don't cook at all. In fact, the first time I baked bread, I told my husband, honey, come see my rocks. I made rocks. I don't cook. So I know my gifts, and that is not one. Anyways, I stopped comparing myself to other super moms. Maybe some people may have bigger capacity than I do, and my limits are here or whatever, but I stopped comparing myself to others, and it's freeing. You're on your own path, and being okay with that is huge. Establishing boundaries, again, at work, I don't believe in working long hours. One time, it was 4:30, this is when my kids were really little, and I was leaving downtown to catch the bus to go home, and my boss gave me a hard time. Oh, it's only 4:30, what are you doing? And I'm like, I work 8 to 4:30, that was my time. And I said, okay, I'll stay. If you go home, take the bus, go pick up my kids from daycare on time, go home, give them dinner, give them a bath, put them to bed, read them a couple books, I'll stay. He never bugged me again. In fact, he's the one that later hired me to open the bank. He's my biggest friend, 31 years. Some of you know who I'm talking about, my friend. And he hired me later. They respect you when you have those boundaries. But sometimes we forget to put boundaries with our own families too. Or some friendships that take up so much of your time. It's exhausting. And we have some friends like that sometimes. Anyway, so establish boundaries both at work and at home. And the me time, the other thing that I did is I do my own nails every Sunday night. So when my kids were little, Sunday night came and I was queen of TV. The only thing I could do is this. If you need any help, go ask your dad. I am busy, I cannot move. Look, they're gonna get screwed up. The funny thing is, I still do it. Sunday nights, it's my night. My husband goes upstairs or downstairs, whatever, do his thing, and I'm like, chick flick time, TV, nails, perfect. It is hilarious, but it still works. And it's so relaxing. So, again, avoid comparing yourself to others. You are unique. That's what we always forget. It's like, why do we have to compare to others, especially women? I don't know why we do that. Just think, you are unique. You have your own gifts. You're on your own path in your own career. And compete only with yourself. Remember, today, am I better than yesterday? This year, am I better than last year? And that's what we got to do. Because then, and I told this to my kids, I said, you're like this. You're going to see people you're going to leave behind, but other people may go above you as well. It's okay. Just remember you're on your own road and you are in charge. And then do what's right for you and your family. Again, balance your entire being. Think of yourself as an entire being. I exercise 6 days a week. I have my personal trainer, and I do it 6 times a week as my goal, because sometimes I only do it 5. Well, for some people it's like 5, oh my gosh. To me, it's not if I'm gonna work out, it's when. And I do not work out at 5 in the morning. So you have to know your body. When are you at your best? And it's okay. Sometimes my husband and I start working out at 9 p.m. at night. And that's okay. That's when I got the energy to do it. And the eating well, I try to eat my best, but you know how much garbage they're feeding us in this country? When I go visit my parents in Nicaragua, I do great. I get headaches from preservatives and additives and sweeteners and whatever. So relax. I am learning. I don't know how to relax. 2 minutes, I'm done. Okay, let's do something else, right? So I'm learning to do that. I sleep like a rock. I just don't sleep enough. And that's key, because we all need different sleep. I need 8 hours. I never get that. I get 7, 6, 5 migraine for the day. So I know myself very well. Emotionally, I do spend time nurturing my friendships. I do take that time. In fact, one of my sisters gives me a hard time. Are you going to another coffee meeting? I'm like, yes, that's where I get to know people. Coffee meetings, lunches, or whatever. And then spiritually, Saturdays is my day. I spend most of my Saturdays writing. And that's where I read my Bible. That's where I meditate. I pray and I write and I write and I write. Some days I spend hours. My husband makes breakfast for me every Saturday. So I go downstairs, eat, and then go back up. So taking time for yourself and then establishing your priorities. Once you know your priorities, it's so much easier to funnel everything through that. And then you're like, no, that doesn't fit in my priorities. The answer is no, and that's okay. And knowing your life's mission, this took me years. When I first started writing the devotional book, that's when I started asking, what is my mission in life? And I finally was able to put it in one sentence: to help working people be successful. It's so simple, and in every area of their lives. I want to help them in every area, not just at work, not just at home. So I try to address the whole, but that is my mission. Have you ever written it down? Do you know what that is? Again, if this was a workshop, I would make you work on that, but take it home, okay? These are now keys to becoming a successful leader. We've talked a lot about this already. Knowing yourself as a person. Do you like you? Have you ever asked that question? Do I like myself? You can't, if you don't like yourself, how can you like others? And you need to help yourself first. You know, in the airplanes, when you're there and no one's paying attention to the flight attendant, in case we die, okay, in case we go down, take the oxygen mask comes down, you're like reading, sending the last text before the plane. Okay, so notice when they say when the oxygen mask comes down, put it on first yourself and then help others, help your child or whatever. So it's the same concept. If you're not right, if you're not feeling well, how can you help others if you're not taking care of yourself? That's the main message I want to give you there. Becoming an expert at something, it is so good. When you are known for something, we can't know everything, but become an expert. That gives you self-confidence. And be decisive. I had one boss once that was so indecisive it would drive me crazy. If you're going to be a leader, then make decisions. I think your employees will respect you more if you make a decision, even if it's the wrong decision. Well, that's the information I got at the time. I made a decision. Okay. And then you can decide, be decisive from there. But knowing yourself also makes you assertive. And then always being a professional, regardless of your job, wherever you are. Influencing others, but here's the 2 key words. In a positive way, 3 words. in a positive way and consistently. And that is very hard. Are we influencing people consistently in a positive way? Ask yourself that. When we talk negatively about others, that's negative influence. And as a leader, we are influencing people all the time. We need to become better negotiators. I don't know why we lose it. We are born great negotiators. The kids are great negotiators. And somehow we lose it for some reason. We need to be strategic. There are strategies that you can take in your career. You're on your own. This is your own career. Take charge. Mentor others. That is part of living your legacy. When you help others, what do they call it? Pass it forward. Pay it forward. All of that. And then being entrepreneurial. That was a hard word to pronounce, by the way. It took me a long, long time. Now I can say it right. Being the mind of entrepreneur. Yeah, this is an immigrant right here. Being entrepreneurial, thinking wherever you are, this is my business. Oh my gosh. When we first started the bank and working for nonprofits, they count the paper clips. Okay, these paper clips are really expensive. Can we recycle? You know, and yes. So think like that and it will make you different. Delegating is everything. It gives you freedom. My motto with my employees was create and delegate. I love to create and thrive in making new things, but I'll delegate it. And what that did for me is when I was at the bank, I said before, one of the reasons I left is because I got bored. You would think that at that point, you know, I got to oversee instead of doing, because I had trained all my employees. I got to promote them all to the highest levels that I could. So I was overseeing, and then I get bored. And I'm like, I told my husband, why can't I just coast? Can I just be content? But that's not who I am. It's okay to maintain, but that is not me. Again, know yourself. And by the way, if you don't learn to delegate, you're gonna get pigeonholed, because then your company can't move you somewhere else because, oh no, she's the one or he's the one that does that perfectly. So getting involved in the community, what you're doing right here is awesome, and it helps you as a leader. Learn to network. Some people don't like to network, and for me that's really easy. But you just get to know people, ask them questions about their vacation or what do you like doing, and not just about what you do at work, and then they give you their title. And you didn't get to know that person. So today I challenge you, another little homework. Before you leave today, make sure you grab somebody's card and then go out to coffee and get to know someone. And becoming a good follower, that's the other thing that I want to encourage you. I want to talk a little bit about what does it mean to be a good follower. This is what I have observed, what I have learned, and what I want to do as a follower. We all follow somebody and we all lead someone. Followers need someone that they can follow, right? That makes sense. The leader chooses their followers, but the followers have to choose them back. So you have to choose who you follow wisely. And trust and believe. The good followers trust and believe in their leader. They don't doubt their leader. They get to know the leader as a person. When I worked at the church of almost 10,000 members, from the members in such big churches, they put the pastor almost on a pedestal, like they're way out there. And I'm like, I got to know him as a person behind the scenes. I reported to him. So when you get to know your leader, if you're working right now for a leader that you don't trust or believe in, that you have doubts, that you don't know, you might be in the wrong place. Followers obey and do what the leader says, but not blindly. If they tell you, this is where you have to discern. What are they asking me to do? Do I trust them? That this is not, of course, common sense. If it's illegal, unethical, you don't do those things. But otherwise, you do. Leaders influence, but as a follower, you choose. Once you chose your leader, you choose to be influenced by your leader, okay? The leader gives you authority, and you accept that authority, which is a big deal. When they give you a new job responsibility, the authority that comes with the job is a big deal, so you need to learn to accept that. The leader gives you instruction, you as a follower receive that instruction. Good followers, they gather together to learn. They work together as a team. They admire, respect, and look up to their leader. They're proud of their leader. They want to be like their leader. They want to imitate their leader. So how many times you've been in a group where someone talks bad about their leader? the leader of the company, the CEO or whatever, the owner. You're in the wrong company if you're talking bad behind your boss or behind your leaders of the company. So, becoming a successful leader. I always ask the leaders, if you're going to be a leader, lead. Why don't you just lead? And be an example of both being a good follower and a good leader. Take the risk. Sometimes we all have taken some risks that people will not agree with. So take the risk. It's okay. Have the courage to confront people. I don't know if this is a Minnesota nice thing. I think it goes beyond Minnesota. I think it's a Midwest states. And I always say I'm not Minnesotan, I confront. So I will tell you if there's something wrong. Because I'd rather you tell me the truth to my face than go behind my back and start saying things that you don't agree. Oh, we shouldn't listen. Well, go tell them. I can't believe how many things we would avoid if we would just communicate better and confront. It's okay to resolve the issues. Lead the way, encourage others, let people follow you and take that responsibility of leading seriously. Being a successful woman leader is a big deal. Be proud of being a woman leader. That same boss that hired me to start the bank, when I first started working for him, I was only 20 years old, and he gave me a mug, a coffee mug that said, "Look like a woman, act like a man, work like a dog." And I first thought, oh, that's funny, but I'm not sure it's funny. And then years later, I'm like, no, I'm going to make my own coffee mug that is going to say, "Look like a professional woman, act like a professional woman, and work hard, but strive to be balanced." That's what I want on my mug. And that's what I want to encourage you today. We don't have to be like men. We don't have to act like men. We can act as professional women. We have so many gifts, not only as a human being, individually, each person, but as women. We were created with some innate gifts. The nurturing, everybody needs a hug, even if you don't like it, trust me. Everybody needs to be loved. It's okay to show the love that you have for people. I don't know why, when I came here, and I'm like, not only Latina, but my personality is super duper extrovert. I hug everybody. When I came to Minnesota, the guys didn't know what to do with me. I'm like, oh, I'm not hugging. Okay, I'm going. Can I hug you? Now they just know it's okay. Everybody wants to be loved and hugging, So I know personality, whatever, but. Okay, so women can and should lead, and they should lead. I think that these times that we live in the world, we need to step up, we need to rise up and shine as women leaders. The world really needs us right now. So take that responsibility of being a woman leader seriously. So, key takeaways from today. Women are excellent leaders. I think God created men and women not to compete, but to complement. Just like He created all the women to complement one another as women. We all have unique gifts. Help each other by knowing your own gifts, sharing those gifts that you can help with, and then be humble enough to ask for help for the gifts that you don't have. It is okay. And we don't have to fake it. Fake it till you make it. No, just be yourself. It's okay. I think that leaders, and of course I didn't even mention some traits like you have to be passionate, you have to have a vision and a mission, and all of that. I didn't include them because that's an understatement for me. Leaders strive to be balanced. You don't have to be balanced. You're not balanced every day, but you strive to in all your areas of your life. And remember that striving to be balanced is a lifelong term choice. And then you bring it to every day. Can I be balanced today? I want to choose to be balanced today. Leadership is a gift, and it's a big responsibility. So, are you ready to lead? That is what I have for you today. Thank you so much. That's awesome.